Yo, what's up, guys? It's KB. Thanks for tuning in to another video here on the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel. If you like the content you're seeing from us here, be sure to smash that like button, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future videos, leave a comment down below, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button. And now let's get into another original video here on the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel.
Welcome into episode 10 of the Outside the Box episode 11 of the Outside the Box College Lacrosse podcast. Not having my nephew here last week is messing up my numbers. Had a different co-host sitting across from me. I'm sure KB will be back at some point, but nephew Hoots back in the building. Uncle Deej here. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod, Underground Industries on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the good places. Everywhere but Twitter. On Twitter at the U Industries. Don't forget to subscribe to Underground Sports Philadelphia on YouTube at youtube.com/Underground Sports Philadelphia. And then don't forget to subscribe to youtube.com/OTB Wow. youtube.com/OTB That's where you'll find full video episodes of this podcast. You'll also get exclusive stuff like Sporkle interviews and other lacrosse content we come up with. You get full video podcast of the OTB episodes on the Underground Industries. So make sure you're subscribed to all of those places to get all of your lacrosse coverage. Don't forget to follow my nephew across from me at Hoots Sport Media everywhere. Don't forget the .com. You can follow me at Uncle Deeds 12 on Instagram. And then you can also follow me on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. And you can find all my other socials there. And this episode of Outside the Box College Lacrosse Podcast is powered by our friends at 47. Truly the best headwear and apparel in the game. And with their vast collection of collegiate gear, they will make sure you're repping your favorite college lacrosse team all season long. So use our link in the description to shop with 47 and get free shipping on all orders when you join the 47 family. Just make an account as it's free and start earning points on every purchase you make and turn those points into free gear. Again, use our link in the description to shop with 47 and get free shipping on all orders when you join the 47 family. Shout out to 47 for being a proud partner of OTB and the official headwear partner of Underground Industries. Nephew, a week away. How you feeling now?
I feel good. It's Easter Sunday, so a bit of a long day here, but listening to the episode last week was hilarious. I think KB knows more about college lacrosse than he leads on to. Was dying at the intro when he said he's the what do you say, like supreme college ball knower or something like that. Yes. It was great. And especially when you guys got to the D2 and D3 section, he was like, "These are not real schools." Because it's funny because I said the exact same thing, like first or second episode when we were talking about these schools. I was like, "These are not real." So hearing him go through the same thing was hilarious, and
it probably felt vindicating.
Oh yeah,
I'm not the only one that doesn't know.
I mean, the Connor Kelly playing for Richmond comment was just gold. So
I wish he was this weekend. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more ecstatic. I saw some great lacrosse this weekend. Like I said, we'll get to that game a little bit later. But also Michigan winning their game Saturday night in the March Madness tournament, marching on to the championship game, still dancing as they'll take on UConn. As you're listening to this at some point, or maybe a little bit after, maybe before, who knows? But we do know that's their opponent. I'm hoping Michigan wins. So pay attention to my Twitter feed. If you aren't watching the game or you want to see how I'm feeling at any moment, it will surely be on Twitter. I will be crashing out or extremely ecstatic. There's no in between. I'm either going to be over the moon or I'm going to be crashing like crazy. And I'm sure it's enjoyable from the other side of the screen. But with that being said, let's hop into the weekend that was. So actually run us through the craziness that was your week last week and why you ended up having to have a step in for last week.
Yeah, basically I just had some games pop up last minute that needed to be shot and needed some camera gear I needed to return and that was an hour drive to do, and just all types of stuff that it's one of those things when you have a schedule like mine that's pretty packed already day to day, to then all of a sudden say, oh, I need to do these extra things. All of a sudden something's got to move. So unfortunately that was this. But hey, it works out because we had Supreme Ball Knower KB, and he can talk some college from time to time, and so yeah, didn't get to talk much about the collapse of Denver last week, but that's fine by me. That was awful to check in on from time to time, so I'm good with it.
I mean, hey, it's good to have KB, as you say, Supreme Ball Knower, in our back pocket to throw in at any moment. But yeah, I mean, another rough weekend for Denver. I mean, I don't know if you got any moment to take a quick look at this game or even, watch any of it. Or I know your weekend was crazy also with Mammoth and everything they got going on with their playoff push over there, which you can learn more about over on the main OTB pod at any time. So I know you may not have gotten a chance. I didn't get a chance either, but I did see they fell to Villanova 9-7 this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game live, but can't really say I'm surprised. Just, I mean, I said it a few weeks back that I didn't feel like they're a good enough team overall. I think they have a lot of good pieces, but it's just not the year for them to be great. And then I think you saw that especially last week against Georgetown, where I was in attendance for that game, and it just got to a point where they couldn't get face-off wins. They couldn't get shots on net. Like, it was just bad. So then to see this weekend is not really a shock to me. I mean, I'd like to see them put up more goals. There's not really much to say because I feel like this is getting to the point where it's the same kind of losses every week. They're low-scoring losses on their side. Their defense, I don't think is necessarily the issue here. I mean, you hold a team to 9 goals, it's not bad. I know Grayson Manning had 17 saves, I believe. So it's like they're getting stops, but they just can't really find the back of the net. And what's funny is both teams got blanked at one point for a whole quarter, and Nova just had a really good bookend, 2 bookend quarters, I should say. So not surprised, but I think this is more indicative of who this team is as opposed to the close losses to Syracuse and Duke and that sort of thing.
They always say it's not how you start but how you finish, but it also helps to start well. That surely can give you an additional boost. Speaking of starting well and finishing well, Hopkins over Penn State 11-10. A huge upset there. Hopkins keeps rolling in the Big Ten. And this game was maybe closer than some people thought it was going to be, and it surely was as tight on the scoreboard or on the stat line as the scoreboard shows. Luke Wallstrom had a goal for Penn State. Chase Robertson 2-2. Kyle Lehman scores a goal. Liam Matthews 1-1. Jack Enan I need to learn how to say his name. For now, I'm calling him Jack Ian. He's 1-1. Michael Ferroni had two Genos. John Jude Constantine had 1 goal, and Mac Hobbs had a goal as well. Preston Hawkins 8 saves, gives up 11 in the loss. On the other side, Chuck Rawson with an assist. Matt Collison 2-1. Hunter Chauvette 3. Orange Linus picked up assist. Charlie Eiler had a goal. Brooks English 3 assists. 2-2 for Jimmy Ayers. A goal for Liam Burke and 2 goals for Jameson Smith. And Orange Linus also had 11 saves, only gives up 10 in their huge victory over Penn State. Does it say more about Penn State, about Hopkins, or is this just a tie-breaking win for John Hopkins in the Big Ten standings?
I'd go with the latter personally, just because we talked about it. These teams they look great one week and then they look lost the next. And I expect nothing less of two teams like that than to have a one goal game essentially. I do like that Hopkins got better defensively throughout the game, and you can see that visually on the scoreboard as well, going 4-3-2-1 Penn State goal wise in each quarter. So I do like that, and honestly, their offense was only had a down quarter, that one quarter, the second quarter. So I do think it's good though. It's a bigger game, I think, for Hop, just because that puts them at 7-3. Whereas Penn State, I guess, going from 6-3 to 6-4 is a big jump, kind of, but also it's like not really, because you were already ranked sixth. So I'm sure voters will still give them respect because it was a close game and whatnot. So I think it's more of a tiebreaker, but still a great win, good high quality win. I will say as well for Johns Hopkins. Just like you said, keep it rolling. And I mean, doesn't matter if it's a 1-goal win or a 5-goal win, still a win.
I mean, and that Big Ten is muddy. So, like, any win you can get to give yourself a leg up on anybody is what you're going to need. I mean, we're going to talk about how muddy that Big Ten gets a couple times throughout this podcast today, because there were three big matchups. I always forget there's exactly 6 teams, so there's always 3 matchups every weekend. But 3 big matchups in the standings that cause some movement. So it's definitely going to come back up here. And Hopkins just did their job to push themselves and remain near the top of that conference. Another big conference game that went down across the country. Virginia played Duke this weekend. And this was a game that I, for some reason, can't find. Oh, here it is. That Virginia was able to win 14-10. And for most of this game, Virginia had control. And it was a game that they came out and showed that, like, hey, we know kind of the position we put ourselves in, and we got to run the table in the ACC in order to have a legitimate shot at making the NCAA tournament, and they're looking like they want to do that. Joey Terenzi, 3 goals, 2 assists. Ryan Dunkel, a goal and an assist. Truett Sunderland, 4 goals. Brendan Millen, a goal and 4 assists. Ryan Colsey, 3 goals and an assist. Luke Hublitz had an assist. Chase Band, a goal. And Hudson Hossman also had a goal. 13 saves, 10 goals given up in this game for the Cavaliers. On the other side, Brady Scoletti, 2 goals. Ben Johnson, a goal and an assist. Max Sloat goes 1-1. Michael Ortlieb, 2 and 3. Kyle Colsley, 3. 1 for Cal Gerard. And 7 saves, 14 goals given up in this game for Duke. This is pretty much just a warm-up for you before you hop on the run out and have to go toe-to-toe with your co-host over there, which if you haven't heard that, give them a listen at some time. It's definitely worth your time. Very fun banter back and forth, and there surely will be some about this game because I know he will have things to say. So what are your first thoughts before you get to do a deep dive analysis on this later?
Yeah, I might have nothing to say actually tomorrow. I might just sit back and let him kind of go off. I know he has some thoughts on Instagram and Twitter about how this game went down. I don't know. I think this is the kind of thing that like just makes me skeptical of Duke in general. Just I don't think Virginia. I know their record 7-4. I don't think they're a very good team overall. To me, this is one of those games for Duke where I know you may not have full championship aspirations necessarily, but you're supposed to win this game. And it felt like they were just kind of force-feeding a couple of guys there throughout the game that maybe, had they moved the ball around a little bit more, could have been a different outcome. But, I mean, you're giving up 14 goals, only making 7 saves. There's not much to say there. When your opposing goalie's making 13 stops, nearly double, and you're only making 7, it's just not good enough. And I think for Duke, is this not 2 in a row now? 2 losses in a row for them?
Yep.
So, how will that affect them later? Who knows? But I mean, I don't know about you. I would consider this kind of the late stage of the season, and back-to-back losses doesn't feel great, especially to a team like Virginia that I think has had problems defensively holding teams to, I don't know, 12, 13 or less. And here they hold you to 10.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a conference loss and a tough ACC conference that is not an auto bid conference. So, I mean, the good thing going for Duke right now is that they had already piled up some wins, some key wins as well
Yeah.
earlier in the season that kind of help cushion these losses, so that if you're able to win a couple ACC games, maybe you make a run in the ACC tournament, win a game, just one, that already helps you. But if you win both and you win the ACC tournament, now you're looking real nice. Like there's a lot of ways that Duke can help themselves out, but they do have to turn it around. To me, on the offensive end of the ball, I know that the goalie situation was a big deal, but they only lost this game by 4, and he only made 7 saves.
Yeah.
Sure, he makes a few more saves. This game's closer. They might win, but also, is your offense helping your defense? In some situations, I feel like Duke doesn't necessarily do that. They're not going long enough in the shot clock sometimes. Other times, the ball's getting stuck in a stick. There isn't a lot of movement at times. It's very un-Duke-like offensively. But when they turn it on, they have it on. They're one of the best offenses in the country. So it's very interesting to watch their up and down throughout the season as an offense.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it, but I mean, just look at the ACC standings right now. They already have it tough, so you can't, if you're dropping games like this, all of a sudden it's like, man, how good actually is Duke? And I know Neil will go off about how they're better than their record says or things of that nature, but
I definitely know. But, moving on to a game that I was in person for, and one that was honestly quite exciting to watch in a couple different ways. But I'm not sure I'm ready to say people are right about Richmond out there and them not deserving of the 1 seed. Yes, they lost. Yes, they will drop in the rankings, as they should, because they lost. But this game was very weird because Notre Dame started this game up 8-0 after the first quarter. But if you take the first quarter away, the game ended 12-8. So if you take the first quarter away, this game's 8-4. Which I know you can't take that away, and I don't want to. Notre Dame went out and won this game in impressive fashion. They started out hot, and then they were able to maintain and fight off Richmond throughout the game. Well played game, well deserving of all the praise they're going to get for it. But at the same time, can we take note of the adjustment in the coaching and the resiliency of Richmond to be able to fight back in the last 3 quarters and win those 3 quarters 8-4. Put on an impressive 10-man ride that started to get ride backs. They still stayed true to themselves and were patient on offense to find the opportunities they wanted. They hit about 15 pipes, few more inches, and that changes the game a lot. There were just so many nuanced parts of lacrosse that happened in this game that did not go the way of Richmond, but went the way of Notre Dame, and it ended up, being the reason why Notre Dame won this game by 4. But to me, it's glaring that Richmond was still able to win 3 quarters of this game 8-4. And if they don't have such a slow start, they arguably might win this game. So am I ready? I just don't want people to go, see, Richmond isn't as good as people thought. They're still pretty good. They beat this team. They're essentially beat this team that is a top 5 team in the country 8-4 through 3 quarters. They just started really bad. You take away the bad start, they're a top team in the country, and they should still be a top team in the country based off this result. I know they're going to drop in the rankings. They should drop in the rankings. I'm not dropping them lower than 5, personally. And that's not because I'm a Richmond fan, but that's because of what I've seen and with my own 2 eyes while watching this game. And then, when you look at it statistically, like everybody who needed to show up for both sides showed up. Connor Kelly got an assist. Aiden O'Neal, a goal and 2 assists. Lucas Littlejohn, 2 goals. Daniel Picard, goal and an assist. Jack Riccardi, 2 goals. Leo Kane, a goal. And Braden Penafeather, what's his last name? I hate that it doesn't show me the whole thing on NCAA. We were looking at it on their roster last week. That really sucks. He had an assist as well, or a goal in this game as well. 7 saves and 12 goals given up for Connor Knight. On the other hand, Josh Yago, 3 goals and an assist. Assists for Matt Jeffrey, 4 goals and an assist for Luke Miller. 1 goal and assist for Wilma Harris. 2 assists for Brock Behrman. Goal for Brady Picorni. Goal for Dylan Faison, the first of his career, which was nice to see him find the back of the twine. Chris Reinhart, 1 goal, and then 12 saves and 8 goals given up for Thomas Riccardelli. So, I mean, it wasn't like Notre Dame dominated this game in any fashion. They just, well, except the first quarter. But after that, it was an extremely tight game.
Yeah, and I mean, don't forget, this is a Notre Dame team that was ranked number 1 in the country for many, many weeks. So people are going to freak out about this for Richmond's sake, but it's like, you guys were cool with Notre Dame being 1 all those weeks. Like, that's got to come into effect now. I know right now they're ranked 4th, but
and when they lost,
it happens.
And not to cut you off, but when Notre Dame lost, they lost by 1 or 2. So it wasn't like they got blown out in their loss that dropped them in the rankings either. So,
and like you said too, like this is the thing is, does it look good? And it's funny, it's because I said the exact same thing as you did on the run out a few weeks ago, where I was like, if they lose to Notre Dame, they're gonna say, "I told you so." Like that's just how it's gonna happen, and that's what's going to happen the rest of this week. But literally, and like you said, we can't take away that first quarter. But if this game happens again, are they going down 8-0? The answer is no. And truthfully, are they letting the 2-man show of Josh Yago and Luke Miller put 7 on their head, just those 2 alone? The answer is probably not. Like between those 2 guys, they had 19 shots. Like that's probably not happening if these 2 were to meet again. Again, I'm not saying that Richmond would, wipe the floor with them the next time or even win the game the next time, but I totally agree with you that like
it's a different.
You go down
game.
8-0. It's a completely different game at that point because you're playing catch up, and they really did play well the final 3 quarters. It wasn't like, I mean, aside from that third quarter where it was 2-2, like second and fourth, I thought were actually pretty good quarters for the Spiders. And yeah, it sucks to lose, but at the same time, you're 9-1. Like you said, you're probably still top 5 team. I mean, I think you still have an argument to potentially be top 3, depending on who you're talking to. So it sucks for them, but I mean, good win for Notre Dame. I mean, you still would like to probably see more from them the final 3 quarters offensively. Just maybe they took their foot off the gas or whatever the case may be, but a win is a win regardless. So wouldn't shock me to see them back in number 1, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and if they give it to them, I mean, it's deserved. You went out and beat the number 1 team, and you did it in impressive fashion. It's worthy to give you that ranking. But in that same notion, this is one of those not moral victory. You know how much we hate those here, but it's one of those like thankful losses. One of those losses like you're okay with as a coach, not because they're a good team. Like, yeah, you want to lose to a good team if you're going to lose to anybody, but it's more of like, okay, good, we lost now. We didn't lose before it, like we couldn't lose again. Where the 1 loss and we're done. We lost earlier in the season. We can taste this defeat a little bit, feel like, know what it feels like, and then also have mistakes and see the chink in our armor to be able to buff it out and polish it. Like this is a helpful loss to the team in multiple ways. It would have been great and a helpful win in the same notion.
Yeah.
But it's great to lose. I won't say great, but it's good to lose earlier in the season to help you really work through some things and have that feeling before it's too late. You hear analysts and stuff talk about it in all other sports, and it relates to lacrosse as well. I feel bad for teams in the A10. Because Richmond's just going to go back and continue to dominate the A-10 like they were doing before they wouldn't play Richmond. Now it's just going to sting a little bit more because they lost to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for those teams in the A-10 that they're just going to run through over the course of the next month on their way to prep for the NCAA tournament. Which that will bounce us back over to the ACC. Speaking of NCAA tournament, and very highly competitive game between the Tar Heels and the Orange from Syracuse. Syracuse ended up losing this game by 5, 14-9. North Carolina up 4-3 after 1, then up 8-5 at halftime. Ended up going up 12-7 after 3, and then polished it off with 2 more apiece to win the game 14-9. The offense kind of stifled for Syracuse. I mean, Mikey Leo still had a great day. He goes 3-2. Luke Roa had 2 goals. Finn Thompson had a goal. For the first time, I think, in forever, Joey Spallina held scoreless, so that's a pretty big deal. Peyton Bear Anderson had an assist. Wyatt Hoddle had a goal. Tucker Kellogg and Greg Elijah Brown each had a goal. Bogue Hahn picks up an assist in this game as well. Jimmy McCool, 7 saves on the 12 goals that he gave up. On the other side, Brevin Wilson, 1-1. Mason Suchek, 2-2. Owen Duffy, 1-2. Cole Ashim had an assist. Caden Harshbarger, 2-2. 5 Genos on 10 shots, 9 of them being on net. 4 GBs for Dominic Petramala. Anthony Ryo picks up an assist. Parker Hoffman and Ty English each had a goal. Peter Thoman had a goal in this game as well. Josh Marcus, 15 saves, 9 goals given up in this game. North Carolina handles business at home, improves to 10-1, and will maybe be the number 1 team in the country if Notre Dame doesn't jump them.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to add there. That's just a bad loss for Hughes. This is, again, one of those games where I think it looks worse on the scoreboard than I think it probably actually was on the field, and especially if these teams were to match up again, it's probably closer. But yeah, I don't think when Joey goes scoreless, it's really a good thing. Like, it's at a certain point, it's like, okay, we got to get him involved in some way. He only took 3 shots, which to me is like, let's just give him more shots. I mean, I know, like, unless it's the guys that are already putting the ball in the back of the net 2 or 3 times, everybody else clear out. We're getting Joey the ball, and he's going to actually go to work, because I don't like when star players kind of shy away when their team's down. And then, like, at halftime, it was 8-5. Like, that to me is where it's like, all right, we're going to come out and punch you in the mouth the third quarter. And it just didn't happen. And I mean, credit to UNC for actually doing the opposite to them, putting 4 straight on them for 3 straight quarters. To where in the fourth quarter, they could kind of just coast to a win. So I do think UNC is kind of a sneaky team where, like, everyone knows how good they are, but I don't really think that we talk about them the same way we talk about, you know, the Hughes's of the world, the Notre Dames, etc. Maybe that's just me, and I need to catch up, but I definitely don't feel like there's as much spotlight on them to where now, especially because if they're going to get the 1 seed, or the number 1 ranking, rather, they will probably get talked about a little bit more. But yeah, impressive win nonetheless. And 10-1, that's a wild place to be, especially doing that against, you know, one of the better teams in the country.
Yeah, I think the big thing here for Hughes is there's now tape on how to slow down Joey. So you better be making some corrections and adjustments within your offensive sets and flows to make sure that those things are not easily set up again for him to be taken out of the game, which severely diminishes the way that your offense runs. It doesn't take away anything from any other offensive player on Syracuse's team. We see how great they can be. I mean, going back to those statistics we were just talking about in that game, I mean, 5 points from Michael Leo. Finn Thompson had a couple points in this game as well. Like, the guys are able to do it. I mean, just last week, Peyton Bear Anderson had 5 points in a game. Like, it can change around, but Joey's a big part of that. And even just the attention he commands is a big part of that. So if you can find a way to keep him active within games and within your offensive sets, you're going to have much more success. And it's a pretty big loss because it's the third one. To me, I think that's the sweet number you want to try and stay below until you get into the later part of April. Because 5, 6, 7 losses is where you start to get into that place of, oh, you need to win your automatic qualifier to get in. But, oh, wait, you're in the ACC who doesn't have an automatic qualifier. So you got to be careful about how many losses you have in a conference like the ACC. And like I said, 5, 6, 7 is that number where you start to be on the outside looking in terms of the 16-team pool for the NCAA tournament. So that's why this is a little bit scary loss for Syracuse, but they have all the pieces to bounce back and have success. So not too worried on that end. But, yeah, I don't think we have talked about, North Carolina enough as an entirety. Wow. As an entirety, we haven't. As a lacrosse space, we just haven't been able to muster up the courage to say that they're good. And maybe it goes back to the fact that they've had teams like this over the last decade, and they haven't been able to get it done. Like, there hasn't been a team that has done what the 2016 team has done, even though they have been better and have had the same or have had better expectations than what that 2016 team had. And now they're not fulfilling. And I think that's why people are kind of like, oh, here we go again. There's no reason to really talk about North Carolina because they're going to do what they've been doing. And I haven't seen them do that yet. They're continuing to go out week after week and have success. They're continuing to go out week after week and play to their game plan and succeed within their game plan. They're going out week after week. Doesn't matter the opponent. And if they're not going to win the game, you're surely not going to beat them by a lot. And they're playing hard. They're making everybody earn everything. They're a very extremely tough riding team. And the ride backs are creating a lot of opportunities for them. And then they just play with a lot of energy. I think North Carolina is, like you said, a sneaky good team that a lot of people are kind of just overlooking, I think, based off of their recent history. It's a recency bias that's killing the lacrosse space because we don't really want to point out how good they are.
But, I mean, this week with a chance to be 1 versus 2 against Notre Dame, that's a potentially big, platform builder for them.
It's huge. I mean, that's a huge game for them. If they can go out and win that game and do it in the fashion that they've done against Syracuse and some of the other teams and have a sizable win of margin and kind of just control the game, it's going to be very hard for anyone to say that they're not the best team in the country, especially with the way that they like to use the transitive property in sports. Well, if Notre Dame just beat the one and then they just beat the next one after them, you can't say Richmond's better than Notre Dame or anybody because they already beat it. So I'm just saying, based off the way that we be talking, if North Carolina beats Notre Dame, they got to be the clear-cut favorite after that. I'm just going by how y'all be talking. That ain't what I said. Just throwing that one out there. But also happening this weekend, Cornell and Penn met up in a ranked matchup as well. Cornell dominated this one. I guess for them, it was nice to see this kind of domination, especially against a very common foe. They improved to 6-3. Penn drops to 5-5. It was 2-2 after one. Then all of a sudden, a 7-goal explosion in the second quarter for the Big Red put them up 9-5 at halftime. And then they won the third quarter 4-0. You get blanked for 15. It ain't looking good. And then a 3-3 tie in the fourth leads to the 16-8 victory for Cornell. They got 3 goals from Ryan Waldman, 3 and 2 from Brian Luzzy, a goal and an assist from Luke Robinson. Rowan Nuri had 2 goals. William Firth, 4 goals and an assist. 2 goals, 2 assists for Ryan Goldstein, goal for Seamus Reardon, 2 assists for Jack Cascaden. That's probably Cascaden. That's a fire name. Luke Gilmartin had an assist along with Jack Herendine, an assist as well. 11 saves, 8 goals given up for Matthew Tully. On the other side for Penn, Nate Lucchesi had a goal. Davis Provost had a goal. 3 goals and assists for Griffin Skane. We love the Skane train around here. 10 shots, 6 of them on net, 1 GB for Skaner. Jackson Maher had a goal. Quinn Ball with a goal as well in this game. Anthony McMullen had a goal and 3 assists for Quinn Langton. Jack Pilot had 11 saves, 16 goals given up. But, I mean, obviously this one was close and then it wasn't close all of a sudden. Is this a turnaround for Cornell? Can they start to see the light at the end of the tunnel and run toward it, or is this kind of just maybe a one-off performance?
I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'm ever going to get to a place this year where I feel like Cornell's turning a corner. I watch them 1 week and they look incredible. Exhibit A. I watch them the next and they look like they aren't the same team that was even on the field the previous week. So I'm not taking away from this win. It's a great win. 16-8, dominant. I think they got better as the game went on. Obviously, those middle frames were the difference maker for sure. But, I mean, even statistically speaking, the game was pretty close. I mean, it wasn't like Penn was, like, throwing the ball away a ton. Like, they made the same amount of saves. The biggest thing was just they have to get more shots on goal. You know, you lose by 8, and coincidentally, Cornell had 8 more shots on goal than Penn. I'm not saying that directly correlates every time because obviously we know there's more factors that go into the game of lacrosse, but that's one of those things where it's like, hey, get a few more on there and maybe that changes. So as far as that goes, tough loss for Penn, but I mean, it is what it is. But I don't feel good enough about Cornell to say like, yeah, they've turned the corner and it's going to be great. Then again, they have another 4 games to prove me wrong. If they finish 10-3 at that point, especially because that could potentially include a win over Duke. Maybe I'm willing to make that, distinction then. But they lost to Yale last week.
They did, in fact, lose to Yale last week. Give me just a second here. Here we go. There's not much else really to throw on that one. Moving us into that other Big Ten game that went down on Saturday, one of the ones that I mentioned. Maryland and Ohio State go toe-to-toe in a huge heavyweight battle, 12 versus 9, and it was truly one of those kind of battles. 5-2 after 1 in favor of Maryland. 6-5 at halftime. Terps still lead. And then it was 7-6 after 3. And then it was all knotted at 7. After 4 goes to overtime. Maryland cashes in the overtime session. And that's really all that mattered for them. Looking at Ohio State here, a goal and 2 assists from Garrett Haas, a goal from Jake Cohen, 2 goals from Alex Marnier. Logan Solberg had a goal as well. Jackson Walsh, 2 goals, an assist each for Jack Struck, Liam White, and Russell Melendez. Whoa. Did I just say that? Did I just say that? But Maryland, on the other hand, Aiden Aiken, 2 goals in this game, 2 assists for Eric Spanos. Zach Whittier had a goal along with Spencer Ford. Leo Johnson had 1 goal. Elijah Stovall a goal. Matt Higgins a goal. And the game winner coming from Reese Riley defenseman that nobody expected to be on that half of the field, cashing in and winning the game in overtime. Caleb Fayok, big tasty, gives up 18 goals, 14 saves. Brian Ruppel for the Terps, 10 saves, 7 goals given up. Maryland, I mean, started early and then basically had this one almost ripped away from them. And then they were able to slide home with the Cinderella glass slipper right before midnight. I don't feel strong about Maryland making another push to MDW, but it's going to be very hard if they win the Big Ten to say that they don't have a chance.
If they win the Big Ten, you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced they even win the Big Ten.
I mean, but if they keep winning games like this, it's going to be hard not to. I mean, they just figured out a way to win that game. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now they are 2-1 in the Big Ten. Their lone loss to Penn State. They have Rutgers and Johns Hopkins coming up. So if they beat Rutgers and Johns Hopkins, they're going to win the Big Ten. The regular season, anyway. That puts them in very favorable position to win the Big Ten tournament, which locks them into the NCAA tournament. But also, if we look back, they have 3 losses to then number 2 Syracuse, then number 1 Notre Dame, and a 1-point loss to number 12 Princeton. And then their 4th loss is to number 9 Penn State.
Well, wait, hang on. Even if Maryland wins both their games, they would need Hop to lose both their games to jump them.
Is Hop undefeated? Because I thought so earlier, but I hadn't checked the Big Ten rankings.
They are 2-1 in the Big Ten, and they're 7-3 right now.
Yeah.
And Maryland's 5-4. So even if Maryland won their final 2, that'd put them at what,
I don't think they factor in overall record for seeding in the Big Ten. I think it's just conference.
Okay, then scratch everything I just said then.
So I think Maryland would win it with the 5-1. With their lone loss being to Penn State, especially if they beat Hopkins, because Hopkins would have the tiebreaker over Penn State.
Wait, so Hopkins because Maryland's 2-1 right now in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their lone loss is to Penn State, who just lost to Hopkins.
For some reason, the Big Ten has not updated the conference. Actually, they haven't updated Maryland's record either on this.
It's a joke.
So
they're too worried
that's definitely possible.
Too worried about Michigan possibly winning a national championship. To be worried about anything else.
They said, "What's that lacrosse sport you guys have?"
Yeah, we ain't gonna worry about that right now.
That's a fair point. I guess this is the tough part. Is it also depends on just the version of Hop that shows up too. Like if Maryland finds a way to beat them in a couple weeks, I mean, even with 4 losses, that'd be wild. And then once you're in the tournament, it just who's hot at that time. Like, you can even on a down year for Maryland, if they just get hot at the right time, they can make a run for sure. But I mean, it's weird for Ohio State too because they were as hot as could be. I felt like for so long, and I know people were questioning their schedule a bit as well. So then to see losses like this kind of happen, it's like, man, were those people onto something there with, Now, granted, it took OT to beat you. Maybe that's an extra little feather in your cap there, but when you play a slow game in general, that leads you to lower scoring games. And when you only put up 7, all a team needs is 8. And this is with Maryland taking their foot off the gas after the first quarter.
Exactly, I 100% agree. So it'll be interesting to see how the Big Ten plays out. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be a collision course at the end of the season between Maryland and Johns Hopkins battle for Maryland to decide who's going to win the Big Ten regular season, and then set themselves up to be the 1 seed in the tournament and see how that all plays out there. But I will say Michigan has been a tough low seed out in the Big Ten tournament recently. So you may not even want to be the 1 seed and run into that 6 seed Wolverines team. Speaking of those Wolverines, they were the lone game on this Resurrection Sunday, and they took on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They hosted this game in Ann Arbor, and Michigan won this game 13-10. It was Rutgers up 4-2 after one. Michigan storms back to tighten things up. It was 5-7 at halftime, and then say the line, nephew.
You can't go scoreless in a quarter and expect to win games.
Michigan goes 4-0 in the third quarter to close the gap, take the lead as they put themselves up 9-7 and then didn't look back. Another 4-3 quarter for Michigan in the fourth quarter. They win the game 13-10. Taking a look here at the individual stats, Michigan, Elliot Dubik had a goal, 3 goals for Nick Rude, a goal for CJ Riley. Jackie Weller had a goal. My boy Alex Gatto, 2-2. Turn me up, Gats. Luke Shanahan, 3 goals and assists. Adam Udell had a goal and 3 assists. Josh Ford picked up a goal in this game as well. Rutgers got an assist from J.J. Aleo. 3 goals from Colin Kelly. 3 goals from Casey Mangelio. A goal from Brady Cardila. A goal each from Colin Zeller, Grayson Vorgang, and Colin Cardila. Forgot there's 2 of them on that team. And then the goalies, Hunter Taylor picks up 8 saves on the 10 goals that he gave up. And then Carden Stoller, 14 saves, 13 goals given up. Michigan escapes with an upset victory at home over the Scarlet Knights, who were ranked in this matchup. I'm sure Scotty Royster's somewhere punching and screaming in the air, going insane about how they couldn't beat the worst team in the Big Ten. This is by no means a turnaround for Michigan, but it could be somewhat of a launching pad, somewhat of a belief system to try and get them to play a little bit better, believe in themselves a little bit more, make some of these games a little more competitive than they have been in the Big Ten, at least beat Ohio State if they can, and then try and make a push in the Big Ten tournament. But honestly, a huge win when you look at how their season has gone and the fact that they are improving to 4-7 with this win.
Yeah, I mean they've been beat by multi-goals. I mean, pretty much all year, and that's kind of understating a lot of it. So, to go out and especially when you were down in that first quarter, 4-2, and then to come back and match and then really just overtake them in the second half was great. Can't feel good if you're Rutgers, now 1-2 in conference play. But I mean, like you said, I don't think anyone expects Michigan to magically turn it around, especially with playing Penn State and Ohio State the next couple weeks. But still fun. Like, you got to feel good as a camaraderie piece, I guess, and just the season you've had, like you said, to come around and at least get a big win like this is good for the camaraderie, if nothing else.
Yeah, and looking at some of the other scores across men's D1 for the weekend, Quinnipiac takes down Sacred Heart in the upset, ending Sacred Heart's undefeated season. The 20th-ranked squad out there drops to 10-1 after losing 16-4. They were up 5-3 after 1, and then were up 9-6 after 2. Led up 7 goals to Quinnipiac in the third quarter. And that's where things went downhill. They were then losing 13-11, and then it ended up being 3-3 apiece in that last quarter. And they lose 16-14 Jacksonville handles Queens 14-1. Queens scored in the first quarter and then didn't find the back of the net again. Ultimate low-scoring game between Lemoyne and Detroit Mercy as the Dolphins come out 6-4 victors. Overtime victory for Air Force over Bellarmine, 13-12. And what was a little bit of a comeback for Bellarmine, it was 8-6 at halftime. Then it was 9-8 after 3. And then a 4-3 quarter tied things up for Bellarmine before Air Force got the lucky game winner in overtime. Marquette over St. John's, 11-10 in double overtime. Sure, that was a very fantastic game. Siena dominates Iona 24-7. Iona picked up 2 wins so far in the year, so we're glad to see that. I was very concerned they weren't going to win a game at any point this season. But they were able to figure it out there. Then UMass over St. Joe's, 14-12. Looking at D2 on the men's side, middle of the week, Lenora Ryan over Tusculum, 19-5. Lincoln Memorial over Thomas More, 22-5. Assumption over Franklin Pierce, 16-7. Flagler over Virginia State, 15-4. Tampa over Palm Beach Atlantic, 12-5. Pace beat American International, 21-4. I mean, this is more of the best teams dominating the not-so-good teams. That's what I dislike about D2. Like Barton beating Shorter 25-1 on Friday night. Like that's ridiculous. We don't need to continue to see that. Wheeling over Tiffin 11-9. Lee's McRae, another big dub for the boys on Saturday. 18-13 over Mount Olive. Assumption beat St. Michael's 11-10. Tampa over Rollins 10-5. Seton Hill over Malone 25-5. Thomas More was angry about their loss and bounced back and beat Davis and Elkins 28-7. Lenore Ryan over Emory and Henry 30-2. Like, what does that game do for anyone on both sides? Like, that's just like it's not a good game. Adelphi over St. Anselm 15-14 in overtime. Wingate over Newberry 16-12. Anderson, South Carolina beats Lincoln Memorial 19-3. Westminster, Utah over Dominican, California 31-2. Colorado Mesa over Adams State 20-3. Concordia University Irvine over Northwest Nazarene 18-9. Like, some of these scores are absolutely just ridiculous. I mean, D3 is the same way, so like, I mean, I shouldn't be complaining, but who would I be if I didn't complain a little bit, right? Looking at some of these D3 scores for the week, Adrian loses a heartbreaker to Kalamazoo 10-9 in overtime. Calvin beats Trine 8-7. Albion dog walks Alma 21-5. Tufts beats Williams 26-12. Arcadia over Delaware Valley 20-7. Christopher Newport over Mary Washington 21-7. Salisbury over Stockton 18-11. Lynchburg over Virginia Wesleyan 22-9. St. Vincent beat Bethany, West Virginia 27-0. RPI over Vassar 13-11. Wesleyan, Connecticut over Amherst 16-4. That was the Wednesday action. Never really anything good on a Thursday. Dickinson beats Yersinia 17-6. Mount Union over Heidelberg 26-5. Ohio Northern beat Marietta 21-4. Capital over Otterbein 12-11. Coach Nat has been doing his thing with the Polar Bears this season. Christopher Newport beat King 19-6. Awful weekend for Scotty and Lacrosse world. Trine beats Adrian 7-5. I'm also punching the air and crying. Michigan is the only thing that saved me this weekend. Calvin wins big over Alma 23-2. There were more good games. Kenyon over Ohio Wesleyan 15-13. Hope beat Kalamazoo 14-1. Ithaca over Union, New York 9-8. RIT over Clarkson 14-8. Salisbury beats Mary Washington 22-3. St. Lawrence beat RPI 15-10. Denison over Wittenberg 28-1. Amherst beats Colby 11-10. Tufts beats Connecticut College 21-8. And Elmhurst beats Carroll, Wisconsin 25-2. Stevenson and Lynchburg were postponed. So that one bites a little bit. And then a quick rundown of the notable games within the women's slate from this past week. Michigan beat Ohio State 10-6 on Thursday. Sorry, I always forget to look at Wednesday because they always have a full slate of games in the middle of the week that were played during the middle of the workday. North Carolina beat Virginia 19-4 on Friday night. Richmond wins big over LaSalle 20-2. Florida over Colorado 9-7. Northwestern beat USC 11-5. Syracuse beat Duke 10-9. Saturday action. And then Penn State over Ohio State 18-9 earlier today. Anything else about this past weekend or general thoughts about college as we're basically halfway through the season? Any surprises, any expectations, anything as you expected?
I mean, I don't know. The only really surprise I feel like is there's not a clear number one on the men's side right now. I feel like there's any given week there are a few teams that can be ranked there, which should theoretically make for an exciting sort of playoff push for a lot of these teams. Just I think, like I said earlier about Maryland, you get hot at the right time, and all of a sudden you're in the Final Four national championship, and it doesn't matter what happened 10 weeks ago or whatever it was. So that'd be my only real surprise. But then again, it's some good parity as well, I think, for that time of the year. So I'm not mad at it. Other than that, I hope Denver can pick up a win one of these weeks.
No, that's very extremely valid response there for your hopes of what they're able to do sooner rather than later. Looking ahead at the week, starting on the women's side, nothing of note on Wednesday. Michigan plays Rutgers 6 p.m. Big Ten Plus on Thursday. 6 p.m. on BTN. Northwestern takes on Maryland. Maryland 13-0, kind of clearly running away with things But the 9-3 surging Wildcats have a amazing opportunity to bring the Lake Show to them and see if they're able to spoil things and muddy things up at the top. North Carolina and Stanford, 6 p.m. ESPNU on Friday night. Saturday, Army, Navy, 12 p.m. Doesn't seem to be viewable. It's kind of weird. It might be on CBS Sports, if I had to take a guess, actually. Denver, Villanova, 1924, ESPN Plus at noon. 18 Duke, 11 Clemson, 12 p.m. ACC Network. 12 p.m. ACC Extra, 13 Notre Dame, 3 Syracuse. 12 Boston College, 25 Virginia, ESPNU, 1 p.m. Kind of a loaded slate there on Saturday. And then Northwestern, Penn State, 4 versus 20, 11 a.m., Big Ten Plus on Sunday. 6 Michigan versus 10, Johns Hopkins University, 12 p.m., ESPNU on Sunday. And that wraps things up in the women's realm on the D1 side. Looking at men's D3, see if we can catch anything solid happening in the middle of the week. I'm sure there is. St. Lawrence and Middlebury on Tuesday. Only really notable game there. Wednesday, Eastern and York, Pennsylvania. Calvin and Albion, Adrian Alma, which if we lose to Alma, I'm literally just going to throw up everywhere. Ursinius and Swarthmore, Hope and Trine, Roanoke and Christopher Newport, Gettysburg and Dickinson, Denison and Wabas, Tufts and Bates, John Carroll and Kenyon, RIT and Ithaca, Haverford and Muhlenberg, Chatham and St. Vincent, Arcadia and Misericordia. That's such an interesting name. We can throw that right at the top of the list of all these unknown college names. That's the first time I've seen that one. Looking at third, that was all our Wednesday action, by the way. In D3. I mean, it's a midweek weekend league. We play twice a week. It's real lacrosse players there. Looking at Saturday, Stevenson and Eastern, Salisbury and Keene, Adrian and Albion, Gettysburg and Ursinius, Trine and Kalamazoo, Mount Union and Capital, Wabash and Kenyon, Hope and Alma, Williams and Amherst, RPI and Ithaca, Vassar and Union, New York, RIT and St. Lawrence, Franklin and Marshall and Muhlenberg, DeSales and Arcadia, St. Vincent and Grove City, Carthage and North Central. That's the D3. Anything happening in D2?
Let me double check my dates here. Lee's McRae, 7 p.m. April 11th. Looking to go, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row.
Who are they playing this week?
Emmanuel.
Kind of a normal name for a D2 school.
Right? That's for sure a real school.
Yes, it is. They all are, but yes, it is.
Nah, some of them are not. Some of them are the Bishop Sycamores of
D2. They're just making them up for D2 lacrosse.
Yes. Yeah.
Looking over at the men's D1 side, 15 Penn, 5 Princeton, ESPN Plus at noon on Saturday. 16 John Hopkins, 9 Ohio State, 12 p.m. noon, Big Ten Plus. Michigan, Penn State, 1 p.m., Big Ten Plus. St. John's, Denver, 2 p.m., ESPN Plus. And honestly, St. John's a great team for you guys to run into right now if you're looking to pick up a win. They've been struggling. They probably want one. It's going to be a very hard-fought game. 2 p.m., 8 Duke versus 10 Cornell, apparently not viewable, ? So keep your eyes on peeled for some viewing pleasure of some sort for that game if it becomes available. 7 Harvard, 18 Yale, ESPN Plus, 3:30 p.m. 14 Virginia, 3 Syracuse, 4 p.m. ESPNU. North Carolina, 2, 4 Notre Dame, 5 p.m. ACC Network. 13 Rutgers, 12 Maryland, 6 p.m. BTN. That was a Saturday action. High Point Cornell playing a noon Monday game on ESPN Plus on the 13th. So very interesting to see. But that's the slate for the upcoming weekend. Anything you want to point out before we do that thing we always do?
Nah, you named most of them. Lots of good candidates this week. But I'll let you get into your spiel first because I have some deciding to do.
Yeah, it's now time for our Riverside Games of the Week, which are powered by, yes, you guessed it, Riverside. We made the switch to Riverside a couple months ago as a company. It has changed our entire productivity level on its head. From enhanced audio quality and episodes, easy-to-use editing tools, including a built-in editing bay for all of our shows on the network, and the fastest way to cut clips, segments, and funny moments for all of our shows. Plus, it is an absolute bargain compared to the competitors. Use our link in the description to get your podcast, webinars, or video projects looking and sounding pristine with Riverside. Nephew Hoots, you figured out what your Riverside game of the week is yet?
I think so.
What you got?
I'm going number 8 Duke versus number 10 Cornell. I think Duke's in desperate need of a win at this point after a couple bad games. I think Cornell, like we talked about earlier, maybe they're better than I'm giving them credit for. I'd like to see it. I think this should be a good, hard-fought battle. There's a couple others. I mean, Carolina and Notre Dame's, I think, is an obvious one there. But I just think Duke Cornell, I think, has a little bit more riding on it as far as, season trajectory goes, as opposed to just kind of who's going to be ranked number 1 next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got to throw Rutgers, Maryland up there to be an honorable mention for that same reason. I think the loser of this game has some serious things to work through and look at and see how they can find themselves in the tournament instead of the outside looking in. I think Virginia-Syracuse gets an honorable mention for that same reason. In that's a 7-4, 9-3 record game between those two, and how a loss could fare for the both of them could be drastic depending on who gets it. North Carolina, Notre Dame gets an honorable mention because, well, it's number 2 versus number 4. They both have one loss in the season. It's going to be a huge turning point in the top of the ACC and who might get the 1 seed in that tournament. And it has some seeding potential, and it has potential to be the best game of the season. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to give it my Big Ten or my Riverside game of the week. I also have to give some props to Hopkins and Ohio State. I also think that's a game that has a lot of implications on the Big Ten and how that tournament will fare out seeding wise. And honestly, a chance for Ohio State maybe to right their ships after a couple tight games and tough games for them the last couple of weeks. But my Riverside game of the week is actually going to be on the women's side. I can't ignore the surging Lake Show at Northwestern, taking on the number 1 team in Maryland on Thursday. I think that game is going to be blockbuster. I think that if you haven't watched women's lacrosse before, that is one of the games I would be showing you to get you introduced into women's college lacrosse. And it just has those implications of being a early game of the year candidate on the women's side. The action on both sides offensively is great. The defenses talk to each other. The goalies are great. And then there's great coaching on the sidelines as well. It's going to be a great game on BTN. And it's going to be a game that makes lacrosse one of the more exciting sports on the planet. So that's why it gets my Riverside game of the week. Mine, once again, number 4 Northwestern versus number 1 Maryland on the women's side. Hoots is going with number 8 Duke versus number 10 Cornell. And that is going to get us out of here. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod at The U Industries on Twitter, at Underground Industries on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all the other places. Follow Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you'll find full podcast episodes of the main pod, OTB, which covers pro and international lacrosse. Don't forget to follow or subscribe at youtube.com/Underground Sports Philadelphia. You can also find them on socials at Underground Sports PHI on all channels. Don't forget to subscribe to OTB Laxpod on all socials at OTB Laxpod. Also, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/OTB Laxpod. It's where you'll find full video podcast episodes of this pod, the college pod for OTB, along with exclusive interviews, Sporkle, and other lacrosse content that we get into. Follow my nephew across from me at Hoots Sport Media on everything. Don't forget to follow me at Uncle D's 12 on Instagram, SCS_next great on Twitter. You can find all my other socials there. A homie producer, always taking care of business behind the scenes for us. KB, don't forget to follow him at KBizzle311 on Twitter, and then you can follow him at KBizzle E11, KBizzle E11 on Instagram. You can find all his other socials there on those two as well. That's going to give us another episode of Outside the Box podcast here on the Underground Industries Network, the college form, that is. We'll be back again next week talking more things college. For my nephew Hoots, it's Uncle Deej. See y'all later. Peace. And stop.